Hello humans, it's just Martine and welcome to the start of my final magical Hopathon vlog for Animal Kingdom. I'm going to leave my previous magical Hopathon videos linked right here. I'm going to have Rachel's channel linked down below. She's hosting the magical Hopathon. I've had so much fun this month so far doing this and I'm on my last park. So let's jump straight into my TBR for this week-ish of reading. Number one, for my attraction, I'm doing Kilimanjaro Safari. I don't particularly remember why I picked Kilimanjaro Safari. Maybe it was for the prompt. I do enjoy Kilimanjaro Safari, but my favorite attraction in all of Animal Kingdom is Expedition Everest. For some reason, my heart went towards Kilimanjaro Safari for this prompt, so I'm gonna do it. So for the prompt of Kilimanjaro Safari, the prompt is to read a book that features a road trip or travels. And so for this, I'm going to be reading Canoe Mates, which is a book about a trip like up through the reefs of Florida via canoe. So it very much has to do with travel. I thought it was perfect. Then for my snack, I'm going to do Jungle Juice because I originally had never tried this. And then I went to the Animal Kingdom Lodge for brunch and they have Jungle Juice there. And it's my favorite juice ever. It's so freaking good. I cannot get enough of it. Most of the room I have at brunch in my stomach at the Animal Kingdom Lodge is for Jungle Juice. That's it. When I found out via this readathon actually that they sell it in the park, first of all, I was like, the next time I go to Animal Kingdom, I will be tracking it down. But second of all, I was like, I have to do this prompt. I just have to. So the prompt for Jungle Juice is to read a middle grade. So I'm going to be reading The Prophecy of the Dragon Pix, I think is what it's called. I have it on audiobook. I've been needing to review it, so full send. I'm just gonna do it. And then finally, for my last prompt of the entire readathon, I'm going to be seeing the show Nemo the Musical. I love that musical so much. We go to it every time we're in Animal Kingdom, and the prompt for that is to read something outside of your comfort zone. And for that, I'm going to be reading Moonburner. I think it's a fantasy. It looks like a fantasy, so it's out of my comfort zone. That's how we're doing it. It's a Tuesday morning. I did start Canoe Mates the other day. I'm like 10% of the way into it and don't have much else to report so far. When I come to you next, I'll hopefully tell you about my experiences with Expedition Everest, and then I'll tell you some more stories about the Animal Kingdom Lodge and why I've been to brunch there when I talk about Jungle Juice. And then, yeah, it's just going to be a fun time. So strap on in, let's go. Full transparency, it's November 1st. It's not that I didn't finish the magical Hopathon, because I 100% did. All the books I'm about to tell you about I read within the span of the last like 2 weeks of October. However, did I vlog them? No. So I'm going to tell you about my experiences now. I'm going to share my Animal Kingdom stories with you under the guise that it's in the moment, right? But secretly, we're both going to know that it's already November and that I'm just finishing this vlog because for some reason, I've been intimidated by the number of things that I have to talk about now for this. And so I've just put it off and off until the list grew to kind of an absurd length. And anyway, here we are. So Expedition Everest is one of my favorite attractions in the entire Walt Disney World franchise. And it's for a couple of reasons. One, because it's one of those rides that I first ever learned about through Kingdom Keepers, my favorite book series growing up. If there was an attraction that I had never read before, but first experienced through Kingdom Keepers, I automatically had a level of awe and love for that ride. And Expedition Everest was definitely one of them because it plays a prominent role in the second book. And I would say it plays a very exciting, prominent role in that book too. So when I first got the chance to ride Expedition Everest, I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm going to love it. And a couple of things happened. So the first time we went on Expedition Everest, my mother, who is terrified of roller coasters, went up and asked a cast member, I'm kind of terrified of roller coasters, but I can typically do like a Big Thunder Mountain style ride, I can survive that. And they're like, yeah, it's no worse than that. So she was like, okay, fine, I'll ride it for this first time. I believe we all had fast passes. So we were like, it's good. So I volunteered to sit next to her. I was like, I'll sit with you and it'll be a great ride. It'll be a good time. Well, it's a little more intense than Big Thunder Mountain. You wouldn't necessarily think about the fact that it's more intense if you really love roller coasters because they're both relatively tame roller coasters. They're fun roller coasters, but they're relatively tame. But for somebody who's scared of roller coasters, Expedition Everest is definitely like 1 or 2 steps up from Big Thunder Mountain. So I'm sitting next to my mom on this ride, and not to call her out, but she was losing her mind a little bit. And I'm not saying like during the ride, I mean like when the car was going up the mountain, that's when she was losing her mind. Once we started going, she was screaming, right? But that's half the fun of roller coasters. It was before that she was like kind of panicking a little bit. Anyway, I was like, I don't even remember how old, but I was not that old. I was maybe a preteen, and my mom was just freaking out next to me. And I was cool, like I was keeping it chill, but my mother was freaking out. And this is like following a series of events in my life in which I've learned like, maybe don't sit next to my mom on roller coasters. Like the time on Tower of Terror that I almost like lost all circulation in my hand because she was squeezing it so hard. Or the fact that she like hogged the handlebar so you couldn't hold on. You just had to be like, haha, I'm free falling. I don't know. So that was the first and the last time that my mother rode Expedition Everest. Meanwhile, I fell absolutely in love with the ride. Like the only thing better than dreaming about going on the ride for me for Expedition Everest was like definitely being on the ride. There's some rides or some things in general in life that you hype yourself up for them and you're like, this is gonna be so awesome. I can't wait until I do it. And then you do it and you're like, ah, that's fine. That was not the case for Expedition Everest. I was super hype about it and then I absolutely loved it. Loved it. Yes, it was from Kingdom Keepers, but also it's featured in a music video, I think, for Corbin Blue's song Run It Back Again. I might be making this memory up entirely in my head, but I could swear because it has a place in the ride that goes backwards, that it was used in this music video. And Run It Back Again, for the longest time, is one of my favorite songs ever. It's still a bop. Like, I still listen to it sometimes. But especially because Minutemen was like my favorite Disney Channel original movie, and it gives you the vibes of Minutemen, right? So I just love that song, and so I remember like wanting to ride the ride. All this to say, I rode it and I loved it, and my siblings also loved it because my siblings and I have very similar tastes when it comes to roller coasters, as in we love them, end of story. So after that point, my mom never rode it again, but our whole family would still get fast passes. This is back when fast passes were done in what I would consider to be the right way, as in they printed out the like physical tickets at the thing, and you could interchange them. Basically, you could trade them with people or hand them off to people if you couldn't make it to your time, which was great. And it involved a certain level of dedication to the fast pass system, right? Because if you wanted a fast pass, you had to go and you had to get one of them, which for people like my family who were dedicated to the cause of the fast pass system made it a lot better because we got a lot more fast passes because we actually like sought them out and went. Nowadays, people can just get fast passes on their phones, and so there are none left. There are never any left. And the chances that you're going to grab a fast pass for a ride that you really want to ride just off the cuff when you walk past it to get somewhere else is like, it's non-existent. It's not a thing that happens, which is really sad because that was one of my favorite parts, was like planning out, okay, we'll go here, we'll get our fast pass, we'll do this in the meantime, go back for a fast pass, all that stuff. Huge fast pass fan until they changed the whole system. Now I literally can't stand the new fast pass system. Whatever, that's a rant for a different time. So we would still get fast passes, and then there are 3 of us kids, so we would ride it with our 3 fast passes, and then our family would have like 2 extra fast passes to give us, and sometimes you could grab like an extra in between or whatever. So we could usually go reliably like twice with our fast passes, and then there was this one time when we were going on it, we went 2 times with their fast passes, and then these people saw my parents standing there like watching the ride happen because they were watching us and like trying to snap pictures at the right time or whatever, and they offered my parents their fast passes because if you stand around, sometimes people who don't have time to use their fast passes would just give them to you in the good old days. And so then we got to go a 3rd time, and then we discovered the joys of the single rider line. And Expedition Everest is when my siblings and I started using the single rider line, which I mentioned when I discussed Rock and Roller Coaster. But this was the birth of that experience because we'd already gone 3 times and we definitely wanted to go on again. My poor parents were standing there drinking their coffee being like, they're gonna ride this 1,000 times and we're just going to stand here all day. But we did ride it 4th time with the single rider line, and that was like insane and awesome and crazy. So basically the first time I rode Expedition Everest was shortly followed by like the next 4 times I rode Expedition Everest. Additionally, when talking about Expedition Everest, I want to pull up this simulator for you guys. I can't find it right now, so I texted my best friend Josh, who's the one who introduced me to this. But basically, there's this weird game online where you can fake control the like Disney queue lines for different rides, and one of them is Expedition Everest. You like say like how many carts are going to be on the track at a time and load people, and you could do it with fast pass or without. It's a really like bizarre experience, but also slightly addicting, not gonna lie to you. So I'll try to link it down below for you guys, because if you haven't checked it out, It takes some getting used to be honest, but like once you've got a hang of it, it's super interesting. And I played that a lot this summer. And I was just thinking about that and I had to mention it. For the prompt, Kilimanjaro Safari, a book that features road trips or travel, I read Canoe Mates, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. It is definitely a travel story. They travel up the coast of Florida via canoe. So that was an interesting experience to read about. Since Jungle Juice is going to be my snack prompt, I have to tell you about Animal Kingdom Lodge. The real move, the power move when you go to Disney is not to spend the money to stay in a hotel there, right? Because it's like you get there and you sleep and you're spending a lot of money to sleep, right? Unless you're the type of person who has like a few days planned and some of those days are in the parks and some of them are in the hotel, in which case go crazy. But for those of us who are just sleeping in the hotel and also want to save some cash, staying in the Disney property hotels is like not really the move. However, booking brunch at one of these hotels definitely is the move. First of all, because you get on the grounds with legitimate means. You're like, I have brunch, and they're like, you have brunch, go in. And then you get to walk around all the things and see all the things. Second of all, because it's just an extra like fun experience. So you go to the park one day and the next day you have brunch and then you drive home or something. It's great. I love that my family does that sometimes. But my dad was looking for suggestions one time for the next one that we should go to. And Michaela and I were very firm on the fact that we wanted to see Animal Kingdom Lodge like really badly. Mainly because we couldn't conceptualize what it looked like in our minds. But in the second Kingdom Keepers book, it plays a very large role. Like they go to that hotel. It's like the only hotel on Disney property that they ever visit as Kingdom Keepers on a mission. So they go to the Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I had no conception of what this looked like in my head, and I really wanted to know, and I wanted to feel like a Kingdom Keeper. You know, they surprised us by bringing us to brunch one day at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the place to get brunch at Animal Kingdom Lodge is like incredible. I don't know. And they serve Jungle Juice, which I had never heard about before, and I didn't know they sold in the Disney parks until Rachel made her announcement video and she was walking us through all the prompts and was like, oh my god, they have Jungle Juice in the park. That's insane. So anyway, the next time I go to Animal Kingdom, I have to have it because it's the world's most delicious juice ever. It's my favorite juice. I'm not a huge juice person, but I would do almost anything for this juice. It's so delicious. We've gone to Animal Kingdom Lodge twice now for brunch. Both times have been incredible. Their buffet is literally the world's most insane buffet. I don't know what to tell you about it other than that. And the sights are pretty incredible. You can walk around the lobby and see the animals outside because it's connected to the same place that like the Kilimanjaro Safari is and stuff. And they've got some pretty cool features of the hotel in general. The prompt Jungle Juice is to read a middle grade, so I read The Prophecy of the Dragon Eggs. And this is a book that I was reviewing specifically for the narration for a friend. And the narration was like 5 out of 5 stars. Great. But I don't remember what I rated this book, so I'm going to look it up now. But while I am, it's very much a Chosen One story and a type of portal fantasy in which this girl and her friend end up going into an alternate world where she is the Chosen One and she has to put these pieces of a dragon egg together. I don't know how to explain it because I would honestly say I paid pretty poor attention to this audiobook. That being said, it was a pretty fun time and a fast read. I just don't remember much of it because not only did I have trouble fully processing it at the time, but also it's been a while since I read it. I gave it 3 stars. No, 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm looking at this. It says 3.5 out of 5 stars. Adventure story, portal fantasy, Chosen One trope, dragons, prophecy. Those are all things I just said to you, so I think I covered it. Finally, our last prompt of the magical Hopathon. For Nemo, the musical, I had to read a book that's outside of your comfort zone, so I read Moon Burner, which is definitely outside of my comfort zone because it's a fantasy. And there are some fantasy books that I've loved before, but in general, it is not my favorite genre. I gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars, which is a bit of a sad note to end the readathon on, to be honest with you. On the other hand, I had a great time this whole readathon, so it just doesn't matter. Nemo, the musical, is one of my favorite shows in all of the Disney parks. I think it's so fun. The puppetry is so cool, and the songs are absolute bop. So like the song that Crush sings always kills me a little bit inside in the best way. The performers are always so talented, and the song Go With The Flow, I don't know, it's so good. It's so good. I don't know how to say anything but the fact that it's just incredible, and I love it every single time we go. It's also one of those things that we don't typically wait for. We typically show up like a few minutes, like 2 or 3 before the show is supposed to start, and we like skedaddle in because it's not full yet or something. But it's a good one. So I read this book for it, and just thinking of the Nemo vibes. And the funny part is that, like, growing up, even to the point where, like, I saw this musical version of it and loved this musical version of it, I notoriously disliked Finding Nemo, probably because they showed it to me too much as a kid. Like, they, as in, like, everyone, the world, everywhere I went as a child, they were like, oh, this person will like Finding Nemo. And I was like, grr, stick it to the man. I don't. But I've learned to like Finding Nemo since, because I was once babysitting a toddler and he was invested. He was 3 and he couldn't really talk yet because he was a bit delayed, but definitely still smart, and he definitely knew what was still happening. So he was sitting there and he was watching it very intently. And even though he'd seen it like a couple times before, they got in trouble with the sharks, and he goes, oh no, which just knocked me out a little bit. Additionally, for the second half of the movie, basically, he was just holding my hand with his tiny hand, seeing what was going to happen. So we were just sitting there, just watching what was going to happen, and it changed the way that I see Finding Nemo. I still don't want to watch it all the time. I still think people watch it maybe too often, but that did soften my cold, dreary heart that originally just really disliked Finding Nemo for no particular reason other than like a pedantic vendetta. I don't know. But anyway, this is the end of the Magical Hopathon. Thank you so much to Rachel for hosting it. It's been an incredible time, so fun. And even though my reading dropped off at the end of the month because of the show, I still had an incredible time. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below which of these has been your favorite vlog, what is your favorite Disney park, or what's the most magical book that you've read recently. And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!